Welcome to Codex History of Video Games. I'm Mike Coletta.
And I'm Tyler Osby.
And today we're continuing our conversation about the history of Grand Theft Auto using the book Jacked by David Kushner. And we're on chapters 19 and 20 today.
We are making our way through this book.
Making our way through GTA. That's what we're doing.
That's true. So we're on chapter 19 here. This one is called Unlock the Darkness. So, yeah. Mike, remember last week when we talked about how they wrapped some controversial scenes, removing them from gameplay in GTA San Andreas? They still technically kept the code on the disc, but they took them out of the game for reasons because, like, when you remove stuff from a game, you don't know what else depends on that. You might run into some weird bugs. So sometimes it's better to just leave it on the disc, but inaccessible to the player. That is going to come back to bite them a little bit here.
Yeah.
There are lots of games that do this kind of thing, I think. But for GTA, it was particularly a problem because of the content of these scenes that were wrapped and tucked away. So the GTA games have always had a pretty strong modding scene, right? Especially on PC. It makes sense that the players who really value that, like that freedom and the choose your own adventure aspects of open world games, it makes sense that they would like also want to modify the game to like be even more choose your own adventure and open world. Like they just want to add their own stuff in there because this is a cool sandbox and they want to bring their own toys to play with, right? I also just love when games have cool modding scenes.
Me too.
I think modding scenes like feel less important now with like how easy it is to get a hold of Unity or Unreal, basic assets, make any game you want. But back in the day, one of the best ways to get experience in making games, if you didn't work in the industry, was actually just modifying games that already existed. And you use the assets that already exist. You use a lot of the code that already exists, and you just sort of remix and modify it and show that you know how to design games or that you can make some cool stuff. So players love getting and making new content for the most part. Developers and publishers also like that because it meant that if a mod really took off, people would have to buy a copy of the game to play that mod. Thinking of mods like Dota or Counter-Strike, right? Dota sold a lot of copies of Warcraft 3. Counter-Strike sold a lot of copies of Half-Life until they packaged it up and made it into a standalone game on its own. And then it sold a lot of copies of itself. Did you remember the Desert Combat mod for Battlefield 1942?
No, so I was going to ask you about this because, like, what is that? I didn't play a lot of Battlefield 1942. Like, I jumped into Battlefield relatively late. Like, I jumped in around like 3. So
okay,
I jumped in pretty late.
So the Desert Combat mod for Battlefield 1942 was like a sort of modern day, like take modern day for 2002 or whenever 1942 was, right? So surprisingly similar to today, probably, but. It was like a modern day mod for Battlefield 1942 that had like modern weapons and modern vehicles. A lot of the folks, and this might be hearsay, I have not verified this, but I think a lot of the folks that worked on the Desert Combat mod actually went on to work on Battlefield 2. Sort of, I wouldn't say they took Desert Combat and like made it official the way that Valve took Counter-Strike and made it official, but Desert Combat, there's a lot of influence there on Battlefield 2 and then beyond, of course, because Battlefield 2 was modern day when it came out. So anyway, that's just a cool little story. I just love that Desert Combat mod. I used to play it all the time in high school. So, and I think that like the early to mid 2000s were like kind of the prime time for this because free to play games didn't really exist. Microtransactions not really a thing, at least in the West. But internet bandwidth had grown enough that like you had the download speeds to download large files for mods because if you were downloading things over dial-up, man, those Doom WAD files over dial-up, that's a long download for Doom mods back in the day. So I'm just trying to set the stage here for where we're at with modding in this chapter because the modding scene becomes very important to this next story from the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas saga. It's about to go down here. So there's a guy named Patrick Wildenborg. He's a computer programmer. He loved modding games. And I want to say he is Dutch. He's from the Netherlands. And he loved modding Grand Theft Auto games on PC. He loved the base games. And when he was finished playing through the content that came on the disc, he loved to just make his own stuff. And Rockstar was very mod friendly in those days. I don't think they are today, but back in those days, they were. So his biggest claim to fame was a mod for Vice City that gave the player an entire parking lot to store vehicles instead of the limit of 4 that the unmodified game came with. I think the limit was 4.
That's really cool, by the way, that he did that. That's like a great mod because it's like functional. You know, it's like what people want.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess you could consider it cheating, but who cares? It's a single player game. I just want to store all the cool cars. Yeah, it
It's like
doesn't hurt anybody.
Skyrim mods. Like it's not gonna hurt anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think it would like he solved some technical issues with making that happen too. I don't think he just like put in a parking lot and said max vehicles 40. I think there was like some technical issues why the limit was 4 vehicles that he was able to overcome to do the 40, which is pretty cool. Um, so these days you'd see a publisher just hate mods like this because they'd be trying to sell you more car slots. They'd be like, you want to hold on to 40 cars? Great, just buy them at 199 per slot, right?
Hmm.
I assume GTA Online does something like this. I don't actually know because I don't really play GTA Online, but that game seems to sell it, anything and everything. So
Yeah, I imagine it'd be like you buy a building that has a certain number of parking spots,
yeah,
right?
yeah, maybe, and you can probably earn the currency to buy the building yourself in the game, or you can just buy shark cards from Best Buy and just buy it straight up. It's funny how little I hear about GTA Online, despite it being like a huge game. It's one of the reasons that Grand Theft Auto is like the most it has made the most money of any entertainment like product or franchise of all time.
Dude,
And a lot of it is because GTA Online.
yeah, I just picked up GTA 5 on PC so I can play GTA Online. And I picked it up on sale. And yeah, I should have more to report soon, hopefully, as I play it because I want to try it out. It's been years. I didn't play it since it came out on Xbox. That's how
Oh
long it's
man.
been. Yeah, so it's been so long.
Well, I'll play a little bit of that with you then, because
Yeah,
I
that'd be
also have
fun.
GTA 5. Yeah. So when the PS2 version of San Andreas launched, the PC modders they got their copies and they still attempted to kind of reverse engineer stuff. They put the disc because you can read a PlayStation 2 disc in your computer. There's nothing stopping you from reading the disc like other platforms would have like some encryption or things like that. But you could just see what was going on the disc. They did this so they could maybe see what might be possible once the PC version came out because that was going to come out. I think San Andreas dropped in like October or November of 2004, and then the PC version and Xbox version came out the following summer. So there's plenty like 6, 8 months of like waiting time in there. So they were just like digging through the files and being like, "Ooh, do we think we'll be able to do cool stuff with this when it comes out on PC?" Um, and they're fine with that. They love just poking around, prodding at the code, but they weren't really able to do anything because you can't really modify PS2 games. Well, you can, but they weren't doing that. So Wildenborg is the one that found that wrapped package that Kushner set up for us a couple of chapters ago, where it was like in the woods. He did some create took some creative liberties with the stylization of that scene where he's like, "Ooh, he found this package in the woods and it
Oh
was glowing."
yeah,
Yeah,
something we can't talk about on here again.
yeah, yeah. So he's the one. Wildenborg is the one that found these packages, but he couldn't really do much with them besides see what they were. So San Andreas was selling like hotcakes and gangbusters at this point because, dang, what a great game, right? Still holds up today.
Great
Okay.
game.
I had just played a couple weeks ago. I played a few hours of the definitive edition, which is entirely like remade version of San Andreas, but still kind of keeps the original feel. I'm sure there's GTA purists out there who'll tell me it's terrible and awful and it's the worst version of the game. And how dare I? But whatever, it's fun. Um, and it has a lot of quality of life improvements. Um, so San Andreas, of course, itself was controversial. It set off another round of our video games turning our kids into killers, all that stuff in the media, which probably fine for the guys at Rockstar. At this point, it wasn't really doing anything worse than the other GTA games were doing. So they're the Jack Thompsons of the world were running a little bit out of steam here because it's like, okay, new GTA game comes out, we know it's violent, great, okay, this isn't really news, right? Just gives them more publicity. But Sam Hauser was mad about the other controversy that they had swerved to avoid because those cut scenes that you were talking about, the ones that we can't talk about on the Clean
We're gonna
podcast,
talk about it on Clean Podcast. We'll
um,
talk about it.
we can talk about. He hated that he had to cut almost everything out that he wanted. So what he wanted to do was release like a second sort of adult rated version of the game with all those things included, like some kind of like a director's cut, maybe a patch they put out on the internet, right? That people could download if they wanted access to these things. I think that's really interesting because uh, like an unrated version of GTA San Andreas, I think would have done pretty well. Do you remember back in this period of time, all the movies that came out, especially it was always PG-13 movies, which I thought was hilarious. Would do this where they put out like an unrated version of
Oh
the
yeah,
movie, and it was like it would like be hinted at. It would be like they would want you to think that it's like going to be just like
the
sex and nudity
dirtiest thing in
everywhere.
the
It's the
world you've
dirtiest thing in
ever
the world, and
seen.
really they just add like a couple more f bombs, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And like maybe a little bit of like partial nudity. Um, but this was the time period where like every like teen PG-13 teen movie had like a unrated version when it came out on DVD, and so they could have got away with that with Grand Theft Auto, I think. I know Walmart and bigger retailers, like, they would refuse to stock a game like that, but GameStop or EB Games, they probably wouldn't pass up the opportunity to sell something like that. But we'll never find
Yeah.
out because they never did that
Mhm.
because Jack Thompson is coming back.
Here he comes.
That's right. He was at the height of his power here, and he was able to get a few more controversies into the news. So there's this kid named Devin Moore who had gone on a bit of a rampage and then blamed GTA for it. Um, so Jack Thompson's not going to pass up a good opportunity to talk smack about
It's
GTA.
true. That
This
man
is
loves
all
talking smack about GTA.
he
That's
does,
all he
and
does.
he loves when well, I don't think he loves when a kid goes on a rampage, but he does love when they blame GTA because then he can point to GTA and say, "See, I told you." Um, but this is all important because oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say because I think we talked a little bit about it last week. It's kind of a blur, but how there's a podcast that was recommended to us by a listener where Jack Thompson was a guest, and I
Oh,
listened
My
to it.
Perfect Console?
Yeah, and did you
Yeah,
listen to it
I
too?
did. Yeah, I did.
It's really funny because the host kind of he tries to push back, but you can tell he doesn't want to go too far because then it would just become like a screaming match between two dudes. So
He's not here to argue with Jack
exactly,
Thompson over
but
whether or
he
not
does.
games turn kids into killers.
Yeah, but he does make a really good point where he's like, "But what about guns?" And then Jack Thompson's response is, "Well, enough people were legislating guns." And it's like, "Oh, so this is like a marketing thing." It's like
Yeah,
you're the video game lawyer guy, not the
yeah.
gun lawyer guy. And that's what like that's just why when you said that when he's like gets really excited when GTA is mentioned, I'm like, yeah, because then he finally has like a purpose in this, which
Mhm.
is what it seems like. So
And he said in that interview too, he sort of alluded to like there were periods of time where he was like sort of like getting high off the star power that he was getting off of doing these, which I find very interesting. And that interview actually I do recommend it. It's My Perfect Console with I forget the host's name, but
we'll put it
that's
in
a
the Discord. We'll put it in the Discord because it's a really good episode.
yeah,
I really enjoyed it. And it's also really interesting to hear because the whole premise of the podcast is you pick like the 5 games or the 5 consoles that are like made your life or whatever. And for Jack Thompson, because he refuses to play video games, they did the 5 video games that he went after the
they're like
most.
most important in his career, even
Yeah,
if he didn't play them.
but it
Yeah,
was just pretty interesting because you listen to a lot of drama there and stuff, and I think because I don't know if this book will go into spoilers, how he gets disbarred, but I would like to know about that. Like,
yeah,
hopefully we find if they don't cover it in this book, maybe we'll do a little blurb or something in another episode where we talk about it because he lost his ability to be a lawyer
that's
over
true.
some stuff with this. So,
Yeah, I don't know if it was this specifically. I think there was a
oh,
lot
there's
of
something
other
else.
stuff too. Like this wasn't the only thing he did. There were a lot of other things. Like there was some. I don't know this story exactly, so I guess I shouldn't speculate here. But I'm sure we can find the information.
Well, his
Um,
story on the podcast is that the video game industry went after him and ruined his
oh
career.
yeah, it was two K or Take Two had
He
yeah they
claims
they
that
finally brought him down. Yeah,
they claimed that he was like a hit on his career that 2K games went after him. Is what he claims anyway. So
yeah, he
I
was
want to
like
see what the book says if the book gets that far. I'm kind of curious to see what happened. So
yeah. But I do recommend listening to that podcast because it made me a little bit more sympathetic towards Jack Thompson. A little bit, not in
tiny
the
bit.
tiny bit, like not in the sense that I agree with him on the like. There's the bit that he has where he's like these games are train kids. He uses the word training, which the host of that podcast really takes issue with.
Mhm.
And I also hate
Me
using
too.
that word, but he's like that stuff I don't agree with him. He's like they're using games to train kids to become killers. I'm like I don't think that's true. But when he's like, but all I was trying to do was make it so that retailers couldn't sell M-rated games to kids. Like he wasn't trying to get the games banned. He wasn't trying to make sure the
Well,
games never got made. He just didn't want them to be sold to kids without parents nearby.
that's what he claims now.
Okay.
Because then the host pulled up quotes of him being like, "We're gonna shut all these guys down" and
Oh, okay.
stuff.
Well,
So,
maybe I'm
well,
wrong
but
then.
no, but like, no, I mean, you're right though, and that it's just like mixed. It's just your classic news mixed messaging. That's what we were
Yeah.
getting. But that interviews for me, I sympathize with them a little more because like you finally hear someone's voice, and they're not just like a you know words on a page in a book
Yeah.
that you just blindly hate. But like, yeah, this guy. Piece of work. Listen to the interview. I'll put it up on the Discord tonight because yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy. But yeah.
That's a
So
good
sorry.
podcast in general too.
It is a good podcast in general.
Yeah.
Everyone should listen to My Perfect Console. But
Yeah.
sorry, that was a tangent again. Do you want to go back into it?
But yeah, so this was going to be Jack Thompson's like biggest controversy yet. This thing was really going to take off. So those rap sex scenes in San Andreas were hidden but they were not technically removed from the game. So Wildenborg found those animations in the PS2 version of the game, and he kind of worked with the modding community to develop some tools that let them kind of see what they were. They got some like wireframe things, and they were like, "Oh, we can clearly see what these files were meant to do, even if there's no way to actually use them in the game." And they were pretty limited because it's on the PS2. They're pretty limited in what they're able to actually mod into the game. And they also purposefully kept quiet about what they found because it was clear that these were not meant to be in the game. And if they raised a stink about it, they'd likely be fully removed from subsequent versions, which they were after the whole thing blows up. But that would include the PC release. So they kept quiet about it while putting together tools that kind of help them re-enable these in the PC version of the game. So they were like, if we don't tell anybody and just keep this a secret, they will probably still be in the PC version, and then we'll be able to figure out what this is all about.
Mhm.
Um, so that gambit paid off, and they were able to use the work they'd done on the PS2 version of the game to resurrect these scenes in the PC version. And not to get too clickbaity here, but what happens next is crazy. Podcast hosts hate this one simple trick, Mike.
Smash that like button. Chapter
That's what it
20.
sounds like when you hit the like button, by the way.
That is in my head. That's what goes off anytime that like button's hit. That's what happens. So, chapter 20 is called Hot Coffee. So, we did it. We're here.
We
We're at
made
the
it.
big controversy. And it opens on E3 2005, where we get our first looks at the next gen consoles, focusing on the PlayStation 3 in the book.
And
So,
this was the infamous E3 with the boomerang controller. E3.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. So Sam Hauser was there as as a prepped video, like he was pre-recorded to tell the whole world how excited he is to use these systems to make his true vision come to life. So he's kind of like rock star status at this point, right? So they're like putting him up in a pre-recorded video to be like, "Oh my gosh, Sam Hauser," that kind of thing is going
Yeah.
on.
Grand Theft Auto 4 is going to be nuts.
Yeah, and he had actually become quite reclusive as of late because he and his wife had just welcomed their first child into the world, a baby boy, and he went to San Diego to look at a little game called Red Dead Redemption at the
Ooh.
time. And then Midnight Club 3 was a hit. And then the PC version of San Andreas was about to release with a patch that would allow users to unlock the sex minigame. That's right. The sex scenes in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas were going to be released anyway by Rockstar, but they just got beaten to the punch, essentially. That's what's happening here, right? So on June 9th, 2005, Sam found out that Take Two now owed the SEC $7.5 million.
Holy moly.
They found that Take Two recorded a shipment of 230,000 games for $5.4 million that was eventually returned. However, Take Two hid this as a purchase of, quote, assorted
Mm.
products. So
Can't
they
do that.
essentially lied to the government about how much money they were making. So they improperly recognized $60 million in revenue, and then Brant like I don't know really know actually what I meant by that. And Brant profited, but I don't know what my notes mean. What am I saying? So yeah, this was not the biggest issue for Sam or Take Two's woes. The real problem is Patrick W. He released his hot coffee mod all over the. Is it Woldenborg? I think I didn't write it.
Wildenborg. Yeah.
Weldonborg. I didn't write it down because I was doing these notes. Fun story. I was reading and writing the script for this while I was on a tour bus in Italy. So here you go. So
Part
uh,
of Hot Codex Summer.
Hot Codex Summer, that's right, which might continue. We'll talk about it later. So, before Rockstar could send it out as a patch, this mod beat Rockstar to the punch and released Hot Coffee into the world. And Doug Lowenstein at the Entertainment Software Association now had a whole new problem on his hands. First, it was violence in video games, but they are now in new territory here where it's sex in video games. And what are they going to do? So Lowenstein reached out to Pat Vance at the ESRB, that's the Entertainment Software Ratings Board. And they hoped that since this was a mod made in Holland, maybe they would be protected and not lose the government trust they made with politicians, right? Because it's a mod made in a completely different country. It's not even us. We'll be protected, right? It's out of our control. However, because Rockstar had wrapped this content on the disc, Lowenstein and Vance's worst fears could soon be realized. But Rockstar, meanwhile, was pumped, mostly because this leak was done by hackers. It's like some thought, hey, we don't have to do anything, right? Like
They did it for us.
employees at Rockstar were like, great, like we don't have to push this out. We're good. Like we're free of blame. However, there are two sides here. Sam Hauser said that deleting hot coffee from the game files would have been too complicated before release. That was Sam's argument, right?
Yeah, because you don't know what kind of bugs are going to be in there.
Exactly. But then Rockstar's own chief technical officer who said it could have been done within days.
Oh, come
Yeah, his
on.
name's Foreman. So Foreman actually mentions he didn't know those scenes were wrapped. He actually thought they were deleted, and he kind of like says like it was just laziness. Like even
Uh,
he's supposed to be on Rockstar's side. And he's like, we should have just deleted those. Like I don't know why we didn't do that. So all of Rockstar's PR people were pulled into a meeting. A former games journalist, Todd Zuniga, now a PR manager at Rockstar, actually found this whole thing funny and absurd. He's quoted in the book as saying, "The sex scene was stupid S. Why did they even put that in?" Like
oh yeah, the scenes if you look them up, they're
they're
not good.
so
Like
dumb.
they should
Yeah.
have been cut because they're bad.
It's
It's just
almost like you would have thought this was cut because it was bad. Like if
yeah.
Rockstar just said, "Oh, we wrapped that because it was a game mode that didn't work and we didn't like it," like we're fine almost. But it's the Sam Hauser being like, "No, I want this in there." That like what so it caused a lot of this grief and problems. So here we go. Where was I at here? Okay, so Rockstar and so Zuniga also hated the new PR person they hired, as it seemed like they had no clue what to do about video games. So
Mm.
Rockstar and Take Two strategy was just like, we're gonna play dumb. Like that's what we're gonna do. They claimed like someone made those animations for Hot Coffee and it was a third party and it wasn't on the disc. And this is a whole like,
That is
did they or not?
verifiably false.
Yeah, like did they or did
Oof.
they not? You know what I mean? So Pat Vance at the ESRB started investigation on July 8th. The hot coffee scandal at the time was the biggest scandal in gaming, and they called it Coffeegate at the time. Now, Rockstar PR still said that the hot coffee scenes were not on the disc at launch. We all know this is not true now. So they are lying. Now, whether they're lying because they actually are intending so, or if Rockstar PR didn't know that the engineers put them on the disc, that's kind of where it's a little bit up for discussion, right?
Yeah.
But California State Assembly member Leland Yee wanted it to be given an adults only rating. That would mean they would have to recall millions of copies at the cost of like tens of millions of dollars to Rockstar, right?
I highly doubt that many people would actually send their disc back for this.
Yeah, no one would send it back. I doubt it, you
Also,
know?
the non-modified version is going to be worth more money in the future anyway.
That's right. If you're trying to resell your game, that not to GameStop though, but to like on the market, that's the way to go. Okay, so Take Two CEO Paul Eibler was in a weird spot. In the United States, hot coffee was a huge deal. However, other members of Take Two in other countries thought this whole thing was funny. So, like, while the United States is like having a huge meltdown, all the other countries are like, why is this a big deal? Like, why is this
Yeah.
even news? Right? Like, who cares about this? So Idler tried to make the board feel better by claiming that the mods were not on the consoles, but as we all know, that
Oops.
was not true. So we're gonna keep seeing this pattern, right? Just lying and lying and lying over.
That was the problem. See, it's not the crime, it's the cover up.
Yep. And our hero in the Netherlands, Wildenborg, I gotta say he's our hero, right? We can say that.
Sure. Sure.
Was now a superstar. Like Hot Coffee had been downloaded over 1 million times. Like Dutch TV stations camped outside his house to interview him. And Wildenborg, more importantly, now fought back at Rockstar Games. Claims he fought back at their claims that he added the scenes to the mod. Like they're saying, oh no, Wildenborg put those in. And he's like, no, quote, if Rockstar denies that, then they're lying, and I will
Yeah.
be able to prove that. End quote. Is
Don't put
exactly
that on me.
yeah. So here's the crazy part. This is the part of like the gossip story that got me. The modders turned on Wildenborg
Hmm.
for this, saying he's getting Rockstar in more trouble. And so they wanted actually him to take some flack off of Rockstar by taking the blame, right?
Hmm.
So then Wildenborg said that the code was actually all modders. Like he changed his mind
Oh, he
to
changed his
take
story.
he intentionally lied to like take some
Oh, okay.
like heat off of Rockstar, right?
I mean,
'Cause-
what are they gonna do to the modder? Like the modder can do whatever they want. He's not
exactly.
even in the US. It's at that point, it's just like, I would understand why you would be like for the good of the scene or for the good of whatever. It's like if you just take this because it means nothing to you, if they don't have to take it, then that ends up working out for everybody.
Yeah, and so actually
I see
what
the logic.
happened here is like Rockstar then reaches out to Wildenborg here and emails them to thank them, like thank him for this. But then, like, so he gets this email from Rockstar being like, "Thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate you." And then there's a press release that comes out like moments later that says, "quote It was all modders, and now we will have to lock our code down." End quote. So they thank him on an email, and then they throw him and every single other modder under the bus in a press
Dang.
statement. Yeah, Rockstar does not look very good and in this whole thing.
Well, it starts to make me understand a little bit more why companies are a little bit more hesitant to support modding scenes after this incident. Because it's like if we are going to be held responsible for what other people make for our game, it's not entirely true in this case, I know, but like you could make this could set precedent, right? If we're going to be held responsible for the mods that other people make in our game, that's kind of a problem for us, right? Because we can't control what they make.
Well, I would say, like, and this is just from an outside opinion, like looking at all of this after I've read this is Sam Hauser's fault, right? Like, he's the one that was pushing these sex scenes more than anybody.
Hmm.
And then he caved, and then they wrapped them on the disc.
Yeah.
Like, that should be something that you say, no, delete these off the disc, like, get rid of them from the final package. Like, if they did that, none of this would have happened.
Yeah,
Like,
I wonder if
nothing would
Sam
have happened.
Hauser knew that they had done it that way too, because he's not
Yeah, they
like an
don't say
engineer.
that.
He's just like, get rid of them. And some engineer, like some
Wraps them
person
instead.
making the decision goes, we'll just wrap them. We do this all the time in gaming with in all the games I've made. We make a mode that doesn't pan out. We just wrap it. We move on. We don't actually delete anything because bugs. It's hard, right? And so when Sam Hauser says, take him out of the game, they go, you got it, boss. And
Hmm.
so I find it hard to like put the blame really on anybody at all because it's like these
So
scenes are
many
not meant to be accessible.
Yeah, like so many things had to happen. Like Sam Hauser made the scenes. He then got in an argument with Terry Donovan, and then they agreed to like take him off the disc for that version. But then they wrapped them with the idea that Hauser would add them in the PC version, but they got out too soon. So it's like multiple errors were made. I think Rockstar also underestimated their own mod scene,
Yeah.
realistically too. Like they just didn't.
I think you could also be forgiven for making the assumption that like that you were going to be held responsible for that. Like I understand the content is on the disc, but there's no way to get to that content unless you are purposefully going to the internet and downloading and modifying. Like a kid is not doing this on accident, running into a scene they had no idea, right? They are purposefully going to the internet to get a thing that puts that in the game. And you can do that for any game because modders can make whatever they want, whether it's on the disc or not, right? The only difference is file size at that point.
Mhm.
So so like there's like not a whole lot of blame here. And I even like I think it's kind of silly for anybody really to get mad about it at all because like if you got to go
Oh
to a
yeah.
website to download it, then you can download. There's tons of NSFW mods for every game that has ever existed, right? We don't
Mhm.
blame the companies for those mods existing, but because it's on the disc here and like that's the difference, I guess. I
I guess the difference is that they wrapped it and didn't think that people would get it. That's the error that Rockstar realistically made, right?
yeah,
Is
I
that they
guess.
didn't anticipate that someone would break in and find it. But it's weird because you look at their history and it's like someone totally would break in and find this. You have a modding scene that's pretty active. Like look at the modding scene in Vice City right before this game came out.
Yeah.
No, they
Yeah.
messed with stuff in the code. Like it's just
I,
kind of
I,
weird.
I guess a naive, I am the naive person who would like, when I got in trouble for this, I would go to them and say, yeah, but we made this inaccessible. This content is like, you can't get to it without going
That's
through
true.
many special steps. Like you would think, like, I think you could be forgiven for assuming at the time that if you went to the authorities after you got in trouble for this and said, look, we made sure this stuff was not accessible, that they would go, okay, it's fine. Right. Maybe, and then say, hey, but future discs, you got to take it off. Okay, right? That seems reasonable.
Hmm.
But the like the adults only sticker for this, like
I think
rating for it is silly because you can't actually access that content.
it's also the hysteria of people at this time
Yeah,
too that's like causing this like irrational thought to happen
yeah.
too. Because you're
Sometimes,
right. Like if something's on a disc that wasn't meant to be accessed, it shouldn't be the company's fault. Like we wrapped it away. And then their thought of like, well, you should have deleted it becomes like a whole like argument that's got no real right answer.
right? It's
Right.
like, yeah, I mean, I
I
guess,
guess, but we've made it our whole lives. We've made games wrapping things and it's been fine. So it's like, maybe it's like, okay, well, you wrapped things that were not something like hot coffee, right?
yeah,
You wrapped like a car cosmetic or something. Like it's not. So yeah, it's just kind of a strange thing. It's kind of good we're getting into it though, because it's like a weird
Yeah.
philosophical debate, even.
Yeah, I just find it interesting because yeah, if a game developer can be held liable for the modifications made by other people to their game, like if you go to any, there are tons of NSFW mods you can download for any game that's ever been made. Is that like id's fault because you can download mods for Doom that have boobs in them, right? Like no,
No,
it
yeah.
not. So yeah, it's tough. There was a similar case with Oblivion. Do you remember when Oblivion came out?
Oh yeah.
And it was rated teen. And there was like they found in the files, modders found in the files, it's not accessible in the game. They found like some topless textures for characters that like didn't even exist. It's like pretty, but like yeah, it was like it was pretty nebulous. And they ended up like rating the game M, and then they sent stickers to retailers so that they could like put it over the teen rating. And they didn't get re-rated. They didn't like put new discs out so they could keep the teen rating. I think Oblivion just still has an M rating to this day
That's so
because of that.
weird. I have Oblivion. I have a 360 copy of it. I wonder if it says M on it.
Yeah.
I,
If it's one of the first
should I go
versions of it.
grab it? Should we do a little
Yeah.
do a
Yeah.
little
Let's do a
little,
little, let's
little
do a little.
visual aid? I'll be right back. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute myself so you don't hear me shuffling around. But you got that means you got to entertain people for
Okay.
30
I
seconds. Are
can
you
vamp.
ready?
I
All right,
can
here we
vamp.
go. Here we go.
Okay, so while Mike is unable to hear us, I just want to say some really nice things about him. He is really funny and he's really smart. And I really enjoy doing this podcast with him. And also, I think he's going to find a version of Oblivion. I'm going to guess that it has the M rating on it because I think you got to have like the first edition of this game because it came out pretty quickly afterwards. So I'm gonna take a guess here. Oh, he's got a smile on his face. What do we got? How do we do? How do we do?
All right, all right. What do you think? What do you think?
I told, oh, it's platinum hits. It's M for sure.
Yeah, it's M. It's
Yeah,
definitely M.
M
Yeah,
for sure.
M for sure. Plastic hits, platinum hits. Gosh, I love this game. I even have the map still because this is my original copy that I bought for Xbox 360. So I have the
Yeah,
map
I have a
still
platinum
too.
hits copy of that game too on
Dude,
Xbox
we
360.
gotta talk one day about like just platinum hits and greatest hits and those kind of games because I love them. Nintendo selects. I love
Nintendo
those.
Selects. Yeah,
All right,
and
cool.
it was a player's choice.
Player's choice. Yeah, that was good
Yeah.
too. Well, we officially got sidetracked, but that was a good sidetrack. That's exactly what we want. So, needless to say, after this whole press release debacle, modders were not pleased, right? Essentially, Rockstar betrayed them, and the PR team specifically went against Rockstar's values to cover themselves. Zuniga, who was the PR press person for Rockstar at the time, even admitted that they knew it was all baloney. They're just
Oh, when they knowingly lied because a
Mhm.
PR person can be forgiven for being told like an engineer is like, no, this wasn't on the disc. They're like, okay, I got to take your word for it. I'm not looking at the disc, right?
Yep. And then the Rockstar's PR team went even further. They said, the quote, the plan was to spin this as an attack on the game industry by political conservatives out to undermine the industry. And Zuniga hated this plan. Like Rockstar tried to play themselves as the victim, but he says, quote, this isn't an attack on the games industry. You effed up, is what he said. So meanwhile, Rockstar tried to save their relationship with the modding community. Are you ready for this? I'm going to read this to you. This is kind of a long PR statement, but
Okay.
we're going to go for it. Here we
All
go.
right. I believe.
We are sure that by now you are all aware of the media furor around the hot coffee mod, the email read. Several longtime critics of video games are now using it to renew their attacks on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas in particular and video games in general. Our critics are using the opportunity to distort Grand Theft Auto and suggest that names do not deserve to be treated the same as other forms of media. Therefore, we have been forced to counter their arguments. Although I said games do not. I think I said it wrong, but anyway. So continuing it on here, the quote goes on to say, unfortunately for the gaming community, elements of the mainstream media don't cover technology or new media well, and they can be especially bad with subtle details. As we defend the game and stress the delineation between the official retail version and the alterations to the code, we want you to know we continue to respect and admire the creativity involved in creating mods. The strength of the mod community proves that Grand Theft Auto will always have more fans than critics, and we wanted to take this opportunity to reiterate our gratitude. We will always admire the passion and technical brilliance of the mod community. Thank you for your notes of support, and thank you for not letting the personal agendas of our critics get in the way of your enthusiasm for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. We are disappointed by the way the media have misrepresented Grand Theft Auto and detracted from the innovative and artistic merits of the game. But the biggest problem with all of this is that it serves to widen the gap between people who create and play games and people who don't. Critics create these controversies to undermine the rating system, to create a public appetite for censorship and extreme regulation. Indeed, the existence of a rating system is, in fact, our critics ignore as much as they ignore the fact that gaming is now an entertainment medium enjoyed predominantly by adults.
Mm,
Thank you for your support, or thank you again for your support, Rockstar Games. So that was actually in an email sent to modders. So if you were in the
wow.
mod scene, they sent that email to you. And I wanted to read it because this comes after that, so it's like they agreed with they thanked Wildenborg, right, for the statement saying he didn't do it. They then throw the modders under the bus. They then try to save face by sending this out. If you were a modder here, Ty, would you feel all is forgiven?
No, I
I
would
don't think
not.
so. I don't think so either. That's kind of how I feel. It's just like that's just it just feels like it's political games and spin for the sake of protecting themselves, and it doesn't really feel genuine at all to me.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I also don't blame Rockstar for taking the route that is less likely to cost them money and legal troubles. Because they can survive without the modding community, right? Like
they
it's
can,
it
yeah.
sucks that that they felt that they had to do that, but I can understand that point of view. Like they don't gain a whole lot by like standing with the modders and like going down with the ship in that sense, because the modders need them too. And if something happens and Rockstar ends up going under because of this, then the modders like great, you didn't throw the modders under the bus, but now they have nothing to mod.
Exactly. Yeah. So
So
I don't.
I would feel bad as a modder though, for sure.
Yeah, I would feel bad too. I would feel like this company that you think is like cool and you're super into is like betraying you
Yeah.
essentially. It's kind of like if Nintendo, like if I was like a huge, I bet, which I am a huge Nintendo fan, but if I was like working on like a fan game for Nintendo and they shut it down, I'd feel pretty bad, because
Yeah.
it's like I'm not
They
doing
do
this
that all the
to make
time.
money from you. I'm doing this because I'm such a fan of what you make that I wanted to give away more for free. Like it's almost like an ad for your games, if
Right.
anything. Like so I don't know, but that's kind of a again another philosophical argument we could get into on the podcast. But I wanted to read that statement because that's where we're going to end today because we're soon going to see what Jack Thompson thinks of hot coffee and get
So
his thoughts
excited.
on it. Yeah. So Tyler, with that, what you been playing?
I'm still working on Bravely Default. I put a few more hours in. I've had a pretty uh crazy work week, and so I just haven't had the like brain energy at night to just sit down and play games. So, but when I do, it's still Bravely Default. I want to say there was something else. Oh, we played Peak. Did we talk about that last week?
We did talk about that last week. Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Well,
is
Peak
fine
is
because we
done.
still love it. Peak is still fun. I haven't really played a lot this week at all either because I've
Yeah.
been gone this whole
Yeah.
time. So I just flew back in, but I did start playing a little bit of Stardew Valley again today because it's kind of my chill
Ooh.
out game while I try to get perfection. And I'm so close to. I'm one fish away from catching all the fish. I unlocked all the museum stuff. Like I'm making my way through it. Still
All
a long
right.
road, but making my way through it. So I just it's kind of a fun thing to do while you have a YouTube video or if you're editing a podcast in the background.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of waiting for rendering. So you got to do
Yep.
something to really wait. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. But I wanted to talk to you about this. Tyler and I don't have a plan yet for next week. We might be off, we might not, is what I kind of wanted to tell everyone. So it kind of depends if we both have time to pre-record something. We'll see. But otherwise, I will be out for 2 weeks because I'm going on my honeymoon. So
Woo!
nice.
Codex Hot Boy Summer continues.
Codex Hot Boy Summer continues, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna hit it extra hard. And I have some thoughts and plans about things we can do, and I'm really excited for that as well. And Tyler
Yeah.
does too. We've been talking about it. So yeah, but with that, that's gonna be our show for today. So Tyler, do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, sure. Goodbye, everybody.